Hello, welcome into WLOY, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle, Loyola's premier sports talk radio show, airing every Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. Welcome to our first show of the new year, 2023. I am your host today, Jeffrey Bazzi, alongside my co-host, Jimmy Cuddy. Jimmy, how is everything? It's our first show in a month. How are you feeling?
Jeffrey, it is good to be back. Winter break was very good.
Very long.
Very long, very long. Obviously, you celebrated a birthday, so happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
To all those who are unaware. But when it comes to the world of sports, there's definitely been a lot that has happened since we were last on the air, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to give a quick recap, we had the college football playoff and all the bowl games that happened. But long story short, Georgia went back to back. They defeated TCU in the title game. That happened a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And yeah, they just put on a dominant performance in that game. We've had some off-season storylines in the MLB. We've had the NBA and NHL seasons heating up. College basketball season, I feel like, is heating up a little bit. Not sure if you've seen some action recently, but definitely gotten more into that, as March will be here before you know it, which is crazy. We have the first tennis Grand Slam going on right now, the Australian Open. That's been kind of a wild tournament so far. I'm not sure if you've seen any of that. And then by far, though, the biggest storyline in the sports world that's going on right now is the NFL playoffs. And we're going to get into all four games today. We have some people coming on later. But yeah, is there anything else you want to add before we get into the playoff games?
Well, no, let's just get right into it. I mean, I was going to ask you a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How has your confidence in the Eagles changed from when we were last on the show to now? Because a lot has changed for the Eagles in terms of injuries and performance, I guess you could say.
No doubt. And I'm actually really glad you asked that question. It's a very great question. And
I know, that's why I asked it.
I'll say confidence-wise, am I still confident that they can win the Super Bowl? Yes. Am I as confident as I was 3-4 weeks ago? No. But I don't think I've lost too much confidence where I'm like, okay, they're going to just absolutely crash and lose in the divisional round, which I guess hypothetically could happen. I mean, anyone can beat anyone, but I'm definitely not as confident as I was before, just because Hurts missed some games, and I'm not sure if the time off and the injury is going to affect them. It could. We'll find out tomorrow night. But the injuries to Lane Johnson and Avonte Maddox obviously don't hurt or don't help. They hurt. And I'm going to get into more of this later when we talk about the Giants-Eagles game. But Lane Johnson will be playing through it. Avonte Maddox, I don't think, is going to be playing through it. But as far as the team goes, though, I'm still confident that they can get back to some level at which they were at when they were 13-1, because they finished 14-3. So they had a little bit of a slide at the end, but I'm still pretty confident. If you're asking 1 to 10, I'm still probably like an 8. I was probably like a 9 or maybe even a 10 a few weeks ago, but I'm probably down to an 8.
Okay. Well, I just remember there was a point in time on this show where our good friend Eddie Stank, who will be on later today, Mr. Eagle aficionado, just like you guys both told me that you guys didn't really have any concerns at this one point in the season. You guys were like, nope, everything's great. And I was like, I don't know, I see some flaws there. But obviously, you're in the second round of the playoffs. You guys got the bye. And hey, we'll see what you can do against the New York Football Giants. We'll have a lot of Giants callers on today, so
yeah, it's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of fireworks. I know. I think I got to mentally prepare myself. I don't know if I'm ready for this. We're going to find out in around 10 minutes.
Don't worry. I'm going to crank it up too, because they just annoy me. Giants fans. They really do. I don't know why. It just bugs me, I guess, because my team's not there. But let's get into another team who affects my team. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. And they're 14-3. They're taking on the Jaguars, who had their come from behind win against the Chargers.
Crazy come from behind.
Yeah, crazy come from behind win. I mean, Chargers are just a meme. What else can I say? They just always find a way to just be a disaster.
And I remember you said it at halftime. They're going to maybe find a way to lose this game. And that's exactly what they did.
Not maybe. I said, I think they're going to lose this game. That was literally the words that I said. I mean, I have felt zero confidence when they were up 27-0. None whatsoever.
Which to an outsider sounds like crazy, but
what? How bad the Chargers?
If you know the Chargers, yeah.
And it's unfortunate for Herbert because he didn't have a single turnover, and they still lose the game. Austin Eckler, who's a great running back, has no yards in the second half. And for what it is, the Jaguars are the ones who end up with the win, and the Chargers are at home.
Not to mention the 4 interceptions Trevor Lawrence had early
Yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they won the turnover battle 5-0, and they still lost the game. I think that's like the first time that happened in NFL history. I'm pretty sure there was a a statistic about that, and that's just insane when you think about it. And that's really hard to do for the Chargers. But anyway, the Jaguars are the ones moving on, and they're going to play the Chiefs. And I don't know about you, Jeff, but the one thing I think about with both of these teams are points and bad defense.
Yeah, we know that both quarterbacks can sling it, especially Patrick Mahomes, but I think even more so Trevor Lawrence. This year, he's had a lot of games where he's had a high amount of passing yards. I mean, we've seen him in the 350s, the 360s, the 370s. I think he's been in the 400s maybe once or twice. You could quote me on that, but he's been a guy that's really not afraid to throw the ball. He gives me a little bit of a Jameis Winston vibe.
Who, Trevor?
In the sense
I
that
think
he's not
got
really
that
afraid.
confidence. If he's got that confidence that like a lot of quarterbacks have, and you want that out of a top pick, I would say.
I just don't think he maybe turns it over as much as Winston did earlier in his career, but the
Oh,
4
no.
picks are definitely concerning. Speaking of recency bias.
That's one game. But Trevor went on a stretch where there were a lot of games this season where he was throwing touchdown passes and there were no picks. And
Right.
It's not like a problem that he's had throughout the year. Now, granted, with the year with Urban Meyer, which I kind of am putting a line through because he looks so much better this year with a real coach, Doug Peterson.
Way more polished.
Oh, yeah. So the talent is there. Like, this is what we expected out of this guy. And listen, it was like I feel like last year was like we discovered the Burrow, like just how great this guy is. Can you imagine if the Jaguars pull off this upset? Like, what are we going to be if we're sitting here and like Trevor Lawrence has 4 or 5 passing touchdowns and like carves up the Chiefs defense, which I don't think is that far out of the question because I do think the Chiefs defense is that bad. And folks, by the way, the Jaguars are going to be able to run the ball very easily against the Chiefs as well. I mean, Travis Etienne's a solid running back.
Yeah, and he wasn't even the starter at the beginning of the year. And then they traded James Robinson, and now Etienne's kind of taken off, and he's had chemistry with Trevor Lawrence to go back to the Clemson days. But yeah, you kind of seen him come into his own because we know what he can be because he missed, I think, all last year with the injury. So he's really electric when he gets out in space. And you're 100% right, Jimmy, when you talk about these teams both being pretty potent on offense and also just not having great defenses. And when you play the Chiefs, you need to put up points. And I think the Jags can put up points.
They have the potential to.
I think it's going to come down to actually if the defenses can get, I guess, timely stops, or if they can go on a run where they get maybe 2 or 3 or 4 stops in a row during the game, can the offense then put up points? Because I feel like if you waste those opportunities, especially if you're the Jags, if your defense goes out there, I don't know, maybe they give up no points in the first quarter, who knows? And the offense does nothing. I just feel like that might come back to bite them later.
I agree.
I feel like they need to get points when they have to.
Yeah,
they can't just wait until the end and try to string together some touchdowns.
Jeff, I absolutely agree with you. The Jaguars offense has to come out firing for them to have a chance in this game because as soon as they fall behind, like it might be over for them. Like if they fall behind 2 touchdowns, like they might never get a chance just because what are the chances that you're able to get X amount of stops in a row to stop the Chiefs and prevent them from scoring? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I don't know if the Jags really have that in their arsenal to do that.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing is we've been talking about the Jags and how they had this crazy comeback last week, and we saw they played. The Chiefs did not have a game last week because they had the bye. The last time we saw them, they crushed the Raiders out in Vegas, which was pretty much a meaningless game, but they did end up locking up the 1 seed in the home field and all that, which the home field is kind of, I don't know, an asterisk because of the neutral site possibility if they play Buffalo. But I feel like down the stretch, they've looked pretty good. I mean, I think they won their last 5 games. I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, they won their last 5 games. They beat the Broncos, Texans, Seahawks, Broncos, and Raiders. So I guess they gained some confidence.
Thanks, Jeff.
I know. I'm
Thanks,
sorry I had to
Jeff.
say Broncos
Yeah.
twice. I didn't realize they played twice in 5 weeks. But
yeah, we know the Chiefs are good. Yeah, especially when they play the Broncos 2 of their last 5 games.
because we talked about how the other 1 seed, the Eagles, they kind of stumbled down the stretch, and there's been concerns there, which are rightfully so. But I don't feel like there's any around the Chiefs besides maybe the fact that the defense is just not good. And we know that it can be good. We've seen it especially in the playoffs last few years, it has been really good when it has to be. It's
You
just
talking about the Chiefs defense?
I feel like sometimes they can really have a good defense when they have to. It's just
yeah.
the majority of the work is not good.
I don't know how you could say they step up at all. I feel like they never step up. Bengals game last year, there was no stepping up there by them.
No.
Bills game, no, they didn't step up. They essentially lost the game. There was 13 seconds left, but
Right.
thank God that Mahomes went on the miracle drive that he did. And they had the timeouts and everything worked out to a perfect, like in a perfect way. Everything went their exact way, but that doesn't take away the fact that that defense was still horrible last year.
No, it was horrible last year. I think I might have been referring to the year before because I feel like the year before was a little bit better. But
I feel like it's been bad for a while. I
The
feel
point
like that's
being-
always been their indictment.
that's been their
you score
kryptonite.
points against them.
right. It's just, I don't know. I feel like there's certain points where I feel like they make key plays, but it doesn't really happen a lot.
Well,
I'm just not ruling it out because I feel like they have guys like Chris Jones and other guys who can make plays. I mean, I wouldn't discount them entirely, but you can definitely put up points. I mean,
I would also say too, the one thing that they do have going for them that nobody really notices is they do have a decent defensive coordinator. Like Steve Spagnuolo, I think does a good job.
especially with the blitzing.
Yes, with what they have, I think they do a pretty good job. But I mean, their secondary is so bad. But when you're paying a Mahomes and you're paying a Kelsey, you're going to have that. And their offensive line, too. They devote a lot of money to their offensive line. They got to shore up protection for Patrick Mahomes. So the defense, unfortunately, is the liability for them. And when you're paying a quarterback like that, though, you expect him to get you over the hump.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll bring up too, speaking of the KC defense, is that I feel like if you're the Jags, you've got to take advantage of that bad defense because I don't know, if you go down the field on long drives and you end up with no points or even 3 points, I don't know, on the other side that you got Mahomes coming on the field on the next drive. So I don't know. There's just a lot of pressure that I feel like with Lawrence, but I feel like at the same time, the Jags have all of the house money because I feel like not a lot of people actually picked them last week. I think it was pretty split between the Chargers and the Jags, at least people that I knew and polls that I saw online. But I feel like they're coming in this game. People are like, oh my God, the Jags are in the divisional playoffs. Like, what's going on here? But I feel like they're coming in kind of loose, no pressure. And I feel like it's all on the Chiefs because the Chiefs haven't won a Super Bowl since that 2020 Super Bowl. So they're kind of trying to get back to that and trying to win another one because they obviously want to capitalize on Mahomes and his prime with the long deal. I don't know. I just feel like the Chiefs coming in, this is a game that they're expected to win. And if they don't, it's going to remind you of last year. And like you said, maybe Trevor Lawrence will have a little bit of a Joe Burrow vibe.
Yeah, maybe there's a chance for that. And there looks like a chance that the Jaguars are going to be able to put up points. Like that's definitely a possibility. But when I look at that game, I think it would be a close game. But you know what game I think is going to be really close, Jeffrey? That's the Giants versus Eagles game. As much as I don't like either of these teams, I still think we're going to get a great game. And Jeff, we also actually have a caller. We have two callers, actually. We have Tyler Demers and Kevin Manning. Boys, how are you?
Good. What's up, fellas?
We're great.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right.
Welcome to the show,
Yeah, welcome
first
to
and
the show.
foremost.
Yeah, first time for both you guys, I believe, right?
Let's be here.
All right, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just get into it. Demers, I heard you had notes prepared, so I'm just gonna let you shoot. Like, what do you think from the notes? Like, well, you're the Giants fan here. You speak.
Yeah. Well, me and Jeff were talking before this. Like, we're talking keys for victory. And the one thing that I wrote down, time of possession. I think the Giants got to keep the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hand. I don't know about his injury. He's had about 2 weeks since we last played. He didn't look great, but I think he's recovered enough where they're going to use him in every facet of the game. I trust Wink Martindale, Giants defensive coordinator, to contain Philly offense, not truly stop them. I don't think we can have a game similar to the first game. I think week 18, the kind of game that we should expect tomorrow today.
All right, so I definitely agree on the time of possession point. That's something that's undisputable, and I think to go off of that, more so with time of possession is you got to get Saquon Barkley touches. Like I think he's got to get at least like 30 touches this game because, I mean, the Eagles have shown at times a little bit of a struggle to stop the run, right? I mean, that's kind of I feel like their best way to beat them.
The shake run defense was the kind of one critique of the Eagles this whole season. In the Minnesota game, I think. Having those Saquon got 9 carries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's just not enough. I mean, Danny Dimes is cooking, obviously. Big Danny Dimes guy over here, but Saquon's got to get more touches. So, I mean, he's by far best player in offense. I mean, Daniel Dimes, of course, is cooking, but Saquon is by far our most talented player, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. And I think the Giants will work that into their game plan. So, Jeff, I have a counterpoint for you. What are some weaknesses you think about the Giants? Like, what is an area you think the Giants will be able to attack, or the Giants will be able to be attacked on?
So it's interesting how Tyler, I believe, brought up the Week 18 game, and it's interesting because obviously Hurts was not at 100%, but he did play, and he kind of wanted to get some reps in and kind of get back out there. And I think one thing that he didn't really do a lot in that game specifically, which he's done a lot throughout the season, is the RPOs and just running the ball. I feel like maybe he was a little tentative to run, or maybe just there weren't many play calls for running. And I feel like maybe the Eagles play callers were just hiding that a little bit. And I feel like maybe Jalen Hurts running the ball is something that they can use, because I feel like in the first meeting, he did some damage on the ground. And I feel like if you're the Eagles, you kind of want to go back to that. And I feel like you got to use your two wide receivers to your advantage. I mean, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith have both had great seasons with over 1,000 yards each. So I think you just really have to feed him the ball. And I trust Hurts to do that because his deep ball has been pretty good. And even Goddard over the middle, I feel like just passing is going to be the key. I think more than running, honestly. I feel like you got to attack the corners, and the corners are good. The Giants have good corners, but I feel like Brown and Smith more often than not could win their one-on-ones. So I would go with
Against the
that.
Giants corners, you're saying. I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, the Giants are in a better situation than they were at defensive back. And I think Demers and Manning would agree with this, just because, like, Adoree Jackson's better than the guy that they had out there, right? I mean, you both agree with that?
Yeah, Xavier Moreau is our second quarterback.
Xavier Moreau, our best player.
He got banged up against the Vikings game. Rookie for that spot. He was at LSU. Made some big plays.
He's a stud.
All right, so yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, it's next man up for the Giants. I mean, that's kind of the way it's been all year. I mean, they literally do not care who is out there. They're just trying to play their hardest. And I guess that's something that's really good about the Giants team. It doesn't matter whether it's, Kenny Golladay getting a touchdown in the last game, or, Isaiah Hodgins making a nice catch in the playoffs. Just so many guys stepping up, especially in the receiving corps. But I'm interested to hear as well from you guys.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not sure if you had a
No,
question,
yeah,
but
I'll go let the floor go to you. Absolutely.
so I guess I'll give a little bit of context. I feel like when I watched the Giants Vikings game last week, listen, Saquon was great, but I thought Daniel Jones was actually more impressive. I felt like just back in the pocket, he was more confident than I've ever seen him play, because I feel like the knack on him the last few years has obviously been the turnovers and not winning a lot of games. That obviously doesn't help. But I feel like this year with the coaching change, just the culture change, everything's just really turned around. It's been nice to see. I mean, you guys snuck in the playoffs and then you end up going to Minnesota and winning. I mean, this has definitely been a great season. And I feel like Daniel Jones over the course of the year has been more confident with his throwing. And I feel like the key to Daniel Jones is I feel like he makes the timely throws, especially on third down, because I feel like the first down and second down plays, you kind of want to give Saquon the ball, but you know what? You could mix in a little play action there. And I also like how Daniel Jones can run. I feel like the RPOs with him are very underrated. I feel like that's another thing that they should use. But I guess I'll ask both Tyler and Kevin, do you really like Daniel Jones to kind of sit back there and throw the ball a lot? Because he was really slinging it everywhere on Sunday. Or would you rather have him kind of just trust the offense and kind of just only throw when he really has to?
That's a good question. I mean, this year I felt comfortable with the ball in Jones' hands, both running and passing the ball. I've never felt nervous. I don't know if Kevin felt that way, but
No, I mean, last year I was always nervous whenever the ball was snapped. If it was going to be a fumble, interception, you never know. But this year, when it's in his hands, I mean, I feel very confident. And also with these RPOs that we're running, I mean, I think we're pretty unstoppable. I mean, we saw it last game. I mean, when Jones is throwing the ball, he's actually like accurate and give to Saquon. I mean, that's going to work too.
and Daniel Jones has finally found the scheme that fits him. For the first 3 years of his career, the team just didn't fit his play style. With Pat Shermer and with Jason Garrett, they just didn't fit the offense properly. And Brian Dable and Mike Hathard, the Giants offensive coordinator, have built the offense around him essentially, and kind of enhanced what he's good at. And that's running.
No, that's a good point, Tyler. And honestly, I feel like that's kind of more of a testament to coaching than anything else because
Yeah.
the best coaches put their players in a position where they can be successful. And that's exactly what Dable has done.
Yes.
All right, so let's get in. One point I wanted to say that I feel like is not getting talked about here enough is the Eagle defense is significantly better than the Vikings defense. Like, would you guys agree with that as well, even though you're Giants fans?
Yeah.
Okay, so if let's just say maybe Daniel Jones does not have the game that you guys are believing he will. Maybe Mr. Dimes doesn't cook as much as people think he's gonna cook. Would you have any hesitancy as him as a quarterback for next year or maybe in the future? Or he's 100% like deserved a long-term deal, like regardless of what happens.
Next year, Daniel Jones, period. Now, the whole franchise tag situation, I don't know what's going to go on with that, but yeah, this is a litmus test for Daniel Jones. This game was going to determine.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, I would argue that Philly probably has a top 5 defense in the league. He's going to need to step up, and I mean, me and Kevin are obviously biased. We think he is. He's a gamer. Every time somebody's doubted Daniel Jones and Giants this year, they showed up.
You also have to support the team. I mean, Saquon and Danny are like best friends at this point. I mean, everyone supported him. I feel like if you make a change at quarterback going into next year, it's just it's gonna be the worst case scenario. I mean, I just think we have a good thing going here this year, and you got to keep it going. I mean, you can't fault us if you give a long-term deal. Like, he's fully earned it this year.
But I've been saying this all year, like, we potentially be playing like practice squad players, but we're going to get outpaid because of Daniel Jones.
I agree. Yeah, I think Kevin hit the nail on the head. I really think that Daniel Jones's play has kind of led to him, I guess, winning back the fan base a little bit because obviously the fans did not like him a few years ago because of his play, which is deservedly so. But I feel like
After he tripped, right? After he tripped.
the trip was definitely something that did not help, but that was a minor thing. But I feel like this year he's definitely turned around. Just I feel like there's more confidence and poise when he plays. And you talk about guys who might be paid, and you talk about the practice squad players that have kind of just come out of nowhere. How about Isaiah Hodgins? I feel like you two talk about him all the time, Tyler and Kevin, and he exploded on Sunday. And you talked about how you're going to attack the Eagles D. I feel like he's got to be a guy on the outside you're going to go to probably more often than not. He's probably going to get what, 10 targets or so, you would say, maybe more.
Yeah, I mean, last week, God, he was falling. He appeared a little best for the next decade. And he had like 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. And Darius Slay, also the best quarterbacks, I assume he'll be following him. I mean, Isaiah Hodgins, talking about a guy who's on followed Dave Ball to New York Buffalo practice squad. He's just, like I said, put in the right situation and showed up.
No, that's kind of the way it's been for the Giants. It's just kind of found a way to work out. Like it seems like everything they've done has just kind of gone their way. And who knows? We'll see how far they can take it. All right, I need a prediction from you guys because obviously you're all, sports guys and you all love your teams. And I want to see if anybody thinks their team's gonna lose. Kevin, Tyler, tell me a score here.
All right. Well, the Giants are definitely going to cover this game.
Okay, yeah, all right.
My score prediction will probably be, it's going to be, decently high scoring, I'd say 27-24 Giants come out on top.
I think a high scoring game would totally benefit the Giants because that would mean that the Giants are scoring with pretty much ease on the Eagles defense. So I feel like if the Giants do win, it might be a high scoring game. Like, I don't know if they can win that dogfight. I'm not saying that they can't because they've won games like that all year. But I mean, I would just be more confident in the Giants themselves if they were putting up a lot of points. Like, I think you guys would agree too. Like, if the offense is scoring, like, you're going to feel a lot better than if it's more of a defensive battle, especially because your offense is a lot better than your defense.
Yeah, whoever controls the tempo of this game is going to win. And I mean, I honestly, I disagree a little bit. My score prediction, I'm thinking 23-17 Giants, maybe 23-20. I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think Giants defense is definitely great mentality when it comes to Philly. And I mean, I think they pull it out. Obviously biased, but yeah, that's my prediction.
All right, Jeff, the floor is yours, Mr. Eagles. Let's hear your score.
I'll just get right to it, not waste time. I had the same score as Kevin, 27-24, but I have the Eagles winning. That's
Wow,
the kicker.
Shocker.
So that's
Shocker.
obviously a biased pick too, but I do think when it comes down to it, listen, if you're asking me what I'm concerned about, obviously the run D is the number one concern. And when you have Saquon Barkley on the other side of the ball, I mean, that's a scary sight. And you give him the ball 25, 30 times, you think he's going to do a lot of damage with it. And then I guess on the Eagles' offensive side of the ball, you want them to use Hurts in the passing game, throw in deep shots to Brown and Smith, but you also want him to maybe run it and have some RPOs. You want to give the ball to Sanders and Gainwell. And we actually didn't even bring this up. The other running back, and we were talking about this earlier,
gosh.
Boston Scott,
Oh gosh. Oh no, Boston.
the
Scott.
giant slayer, the giant killer, whatever you want to call him. So I'm sure he's going to get his touches in there, and we'll see what he does. I mean, he's known for getting a touchdown against the Giants. I think he has a touchdown every single game against the Giants in his career. So we'll see if the streak continues in the playoffs.
Yeah, so all right. Anything else you boys want to add when talking about this Giants Eagles game? I mean, if so, the floor is now yours.
I was gonna bring up Boston Scott. He turns into prime Adrian Peterson every time we play, so.
That's gonna be the key, honestly. If we stop Boston.
If you stop Boston Scott, you might win the game. Huh? Yeah, that could be true. 100%.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. If you guys stop Boston Scott, that could be the key to a win.
That would be the number one game.
Yeah, I mean, he really does own you guys. It's very, very bizarre. I think Sirianni might just be trolling at this point. Like, just giving him the ball on the 1 yard line just so he scores every time. It is just really hilarious.
It's kind of weird, but it's
But-
funny.
Guys, as always, thank you for coming on. We had a great time today. Thank you. You're certainly welcome back if the Giants continue this miracle run. I'll
Oh,
say
for
that.
sure. Definitely.
Jeff, hopefully for your sake, though, they're not back on because that would not be good for you. Not good for you.
I guess we'll find out tomorrow night.
All right, Kevin, Tyler, thank you guys.
Thank you, boys.
See you next week.
All right, take care.
I love how we snuck in the see you next week thing at the end. Did
Yeah,
you hear that? I love
Yeah,
it.
That was good.
I love the confidence.
Yeah, listen.
From a like
Giants are a cute story. They're a cute story. You know, Jones is making his little run. They're getting their little run here. You know, they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl, but it's a good story.
well, I'm gonna ask you because you're the outsider here. I mean, if we're talking amongst the four of us,
Yeah.
just the two of them,
Yeah,
me
yeah,
and you, you're the outsider, so you've the unbiased pick here because we obviously just went through all of that. I mean, you look at Hurts coming back from the injury. We're kind of curious to see how he's going to be. We know Daniel Jones is kind of flying high. Not just him, the whole Giants team, really. Eagles haven't played in 12 days, going to be 13 days tomorrow. So I don't know. I'll just get right to it. Who do you like in the game tomorrow, Giants or Eagles?
Well, when I look at these two teams, I really do think that the Eagles are the better team. Like, certainly the more talented team. I think if you ask me, like, based on skill players, based on offensive line, just in terms of comparing the two offenses, I'll immediately check the box with the Eagles because the Eagles have the high power offense. Let's say that. The one area that I think the Eagles do have a much larger advantage to in is the like their receivers against the Giants corners. Like they got to put up points, Jeff. If the Eagles are struggling to put up points, it is not good. But also, if your defense can't stop the Giants, that's going to be rough too because your defense has to show up. I mean, it has to, or else, especially with this like Hurts concern, like it could be a situation where like it's either the defense saving the team or else the season's over. I mean, that's really a possibility you could have because Hurts just did not look the same in that game. And I don't know if he's going to play like that, but like he did in week 18 versus the Giants. But I do know if he does, the Eagles are not going to have a great game. Like it's going to be really rough.
Yeah, and I think just to add one more point, I feel like the Eagles can get back to what they were earlier in the year. They were really flying high, scoring a lot of points, defense getting key stops, turnovers, whatever. And they got out to that 13-1 start. I do think they can get back to something that's close to that. I don't know if they can get back to fully that. And the question is, if they get back to it, can they ride it long enough to the Super Bowl and end up winning it? I don't know. I think they can do it, but I definitely think there are a lot of question marks there. And then my other point, just to wrap this up, would be the Giants are coming in here. They finished what, 9-7-1, I think. And they snuck in the playoffs.
They're on house money.
And I'm going to get to that. Yeah. They got the 6th seed. And they went up to Minnesota, got a great win, and now they're coming in, like you said, the exact words I was about to use, house money. And you look on the other side, the Eagles are the 1 seed, and I feel like they don't want to waste this kind of year that they had 14-3. They almost actually wasted the 1 seed. They were 13-1, and they lost those 2 games. They actually had to win in week 18 to get that 1 seed. So I feel like coming in for them, I feel like they don't want to feel pressure, and they might say, "Oh, this is just another game," but I feel like all the pressure is on the Eagles. I just feel like the Giants are going to come in and just kind of just play loose, play free, and maybe it'll be enough.
Absolutely agree, Jeffrey. The pressure is on the Eagles. They are the better team, but the pressure is something that's going to be really tough for them. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants won. I can say that. Just because they've won so many close games and they have something about them where they just find a way to just constantly just gut out these wins that I never think they're going to get. I didn't think they'd beat the Ravens. That was really the first game that surprised me. I didn't think they'd beat the Packers. That was another game that really surprised me. I mean, there were 2 teams that I thought, all right, probably playoff teams.
You kind of raised your eyebrows a little bit when that happened.
Yeah.
At least I did.
Yeah, it was like that. Those were the shocker games.
I mean, weren't they 7-1?
Yeah.
6-1, 6-2. The Giants 6-2.
Yeah. Really the games that I felt like they struggled in the most were the games against the Cowboys and the games against the Eagles. Now I know the one on Thanksgiving, like that was whatever because there was a lot of injuries, particularly on the Giants defense. But at the same time, I just felt like those were the best teams they played, and those were the games that they struggled the most. So I feel like there's a gap between maybe the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Eagles, and then a team like the Giants. Like out of these 4 teams, if the Giants are the one in the Super Bowl, I would be completely shocked.
And the thing I think that bodes the Giants well is that they had a lot of close games this year, and they won a lot of those close games. And we've been predicting how close this game is probably going to be. I mean, they've been in this situation more times than we can count. So I'm sure they're more than comfortable being in a close game. And the other thing is
I'll take the Eagles though in the game. Like I know you asked for a pick before. I'm going to take the Eagles, but I do respect the Giants as a team. Like they play very hard.
Yeah. And then this is a minor thing. This might be a little bit of a friendly fire thing, but Dak Prescott has 2 playoff wins. Daniel Jones has 1 playoff win. Jalen Hurts has 0 playoff wins. So maybe Jalen Hurts is going to try to get his first playoff win, because the last thing I think he wants is to lose and have none while Jones has 2 and fighting for more. So
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff going in this game, as we all recapped here, but it's going to be exciting. I mean, NFC East prime time. It's going to be great. Divisional round. I mean, come on. What more can we ask for?
Yeah. I agree. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. We have 2 more callers, 1 Giants, 1 Eagles. We'll be right back after this. You'll listen after this.
Welcome back to WLOY, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle with Jeffrey Bazzi and Jimmy Cody. And we're going to move into the other games on Sunday, and we're also going to talk some more Giants Eagles as well with another Giants fan. And so, Jimmy, take it away.
All right, I'm joined here on the phone by Mr. Tom Spallone. Tom, big game this weekend for you. You're a big Giants fan. We were talking a little bit about that just a couple minutes ago, and we'll continue talking about it in just a few more minutes. But we just want to hit on some of the other games, but I want to start by asking you, how are you?
Good, man. How you guys been? It's been a good break. My Giants are looking promising so far this season, so I'm pretty hyped.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for much more about that, that's for sure. I mean, I don't think you thought you'd be sitting at this point at all. It's got to be a shocker for you, right?
It definitely is. I really didn't expect this run this year, but Matt McHale, honestly, we could pull the receipts. He used all over this. He called Giants fantasy championship this year, so.
Well, it didn't happen yet, so but I don't. There's no. Why are you taking a picture of that? Yeah, I was gonna say, pump the brakes on that. Pump the brakes on that. Nothing. You didn't make any NFC championships yet. Anyway, let's talk about a team who has been in a championship game recently, more recently than the Giants. That would be the Bengals. They're playing the Bills this weekend in Buffalo. Tom, I would love your thoughts on that, just because I think this game could go either way. But I have to say, those 2 injuries for the Bengals on the offensive line, I mean, those are huge.
Yeah, I mean, his O-line's banged up against Burrow, but I really don't think it matters.
You don't what? You don't think it matters? How could you say that?
I'll start by saying the left tackle Jonah Williams is arguably one of the worst tackles in the league. So to be honest, I really don't think the backup is going to be that much worse than Henry.
Or he could be way worse. Or he could be way worse. Imagine how if Jonah Williams is the standard for starting. Imagine what the standard is for backupping. I'm just saying, it's possible it could be worse.
It could be, but the other guy, Alex Capper, wasn't even on the team last year. I mean, his O-line was terrible last year, and he made it to a Super Bowl. I'm really not worried about Joe Burrow. He's beaten Mahomes in Kansas City. No reason why he can't go and beat Josh Allen in Buffalo. And Josh Allen has been very overrated this season. We love to put him in the top 3 conversation. That's fine. We can keep him there for now. But he leads the league in turnovers this year. Let's not forget that. And losing Brian Dable has been a big drop off for him. It's really positive. And his red zone efficiency has not been good. He takes deep shots just to throw the ball deep for no reason. So if he's going to want to do that this week, he's not being good for everybody.
No, that's a good point, Tom. I'm glad you brought that up about Allen though with the turnovers. I mean, Jeffrey, think about the Vikings game. He had that. The Lions game, he had some turnovers. I mean, it's been. I don't know. It's almost like an every week thing, honestly, with the turnovers that Tom brought it up. Specifically, the interceptions. That's really what I think the problem is.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like he treats the football like it's a toy. He just tosses it around wherever he wants to. And then, I don't know, he expects Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis or Dawson Knox or whoever to just go up and get the ball. But it's not always the case like that. But I think it's just very concerning how they played last week because defensively, they gave up 31 to the Dolphins, who had a third string quarterback. I think that's a little bit of
Skyler, the GOAT
alarming
Thompson.
there.
Skyler the Goat Thompson. That's my boy right there. 2 straight covers. I mean, what more do you want?
But I do think offensively, the turnovers and all that, it is concerning. I do feel like he can right the ship. I just feel like he's got to really just, I don't know, use his head and make the right play because he has all the weapons that you can want. And then on the other side, Cincinnati, and you forget that actually, before I get into the Cincinnati point, these teams were supposed to play in week 17. And we all know what happened with the Damar Hamlin story there. But this is finally the rematch that we're going to get. And
well, Cincinnati's kind of getting screwed. Honestly, like that's the
Right.
unfortunate part for them is like they're gonna have to play this game on the road. And the only person who said anything was Joe Mixon. And I guess it is tough for Cincinnati because
it's very
if
complicated.
they won that game, they would be home.
Yeah, they
But
would have been in the
also,
driver's
why
seat.
is it not a neutral site? You know what I mean? That's what also
Right.
stinks for
And
them.
I'll go a step further. Cincinnati actually could have been the 1 seed because they
Beat Kansas City.
beat Kansas City. And if they had the same record, they would have been over Kansas City in the standings. So that was another little tidbit there. But I just wanted to bring up Cincinnati briefly. I just feel like coming into the game, did they look great last week? I thought they looked okay. I didn't think they looked amazing, but they did enough to get by the Ravens. And obviously that fumble recovery for the touchdown when Huntley tried to sneak in, that was the difference in the turning point. But I feel like the O-line is definitely a big concern. And Tom's right. I feel like the injuries are piling up there, but I do feel like Burrow can scramble around and make off-schedule plays. He's really good at that. But the thing is, can you really rely on that for the entirety of the game? I don't know. We've seen him do it before, though. I mean, he obviously took them to the Super Bowl last year. So, I mean, you can't say he can't do it because he has done it. But I don't know. I think that O-line against that Buffalo D-line is really going to be the key. I feel like you got to win the trenches.
Absolutely. I agree with that, Jeffrey, 100%. The O-line of Buffalo, or the O-line of the Bengals versus the D-line of Buffalo. And I think, honestly, the D-line might be a strength for Buffalo on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know what you guys think, but they got some good players. Ed Oliver, he's a really good D-tackle.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had Von Miller, too.
Yeah.
He's unfortunately injured.
Yeah,
but that was their key signing in the offseason.
Yeah, because they had him for pass rushing. Right?
We saw him last year with the Rams in the playoffs.
Yeah, you also saw him in 2016 with Denver.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone remembers or not. Tom, I just want to get your thoughts really quickly. There's a big game out in Santa Clara this week that involves the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, as I like to call them. I looked at the Cowboys last week and I just kept hearing all these things about how Dak's not good and how like they're gonna lose in the playoffs like always. Oh, it's Brady. Like, none of that mattered. This team dominated from start to finish of that game. Literally, the only guy on the team who did anything wrong was essentially the kicker. Hopefully, Brett Maher gets it together. Money Maher, by the way, that's what I like to call him. But at the end of the day, I still have a lot of confidence in Brett Maher, and I think he'll be fine in this game. But like, I'm not gonna lie, I think this is a good matchup for the Cowboys. Like, I think that they're gonna be able to score on San Francisco. Like, I think that they have an O line that's capable of taking care of the trenches, and they're gonna run the ball like they always do. And Tony Pollard, man, he's a good running back. And I'm not saying that the 49ers offense hasn't done amazing things this year, but I'm very interested to see how they go or how they do against this Micah Parsons guy, because this guy has been on fire. I mean, last week you saw this guy. It felt like he was in the backfield every single play. I mean, he was eating Brady alive back there. And I don't know, like with this Cowboys team, like I just see a team that's just flooded with talent, and I just can't help but think like they have the potential to win the Super Bowl. Like I really thought that after the last game. Like I'm saying it. I like the Cowboys a lot. Like I like the roster they have. If Dak keeps it up at this high level, like who can they be beaten by? Like if you think the 49ers, if they get past the 49ers, what would stop them from getting by the Eagles or Giants? I don't think anything. So Mr. Spallone, I know that you're the chief Cowboy hater around here, so I'll give the floor to you.
Well, Mr. Cody, I think you gotta pump the brakes a little bit here with the Cowboys. First off, I'd just like to congratulate them on their first road playoff win in 30 years. It's been a long time coming for them, so they deserve that one on Monday. I mean, the defense basically wrecked the game. We can talk about Dak Prescott. Yeah, he looks pretty good. I mean, Tampa's really not a good football team.
Pretty good. Hold on. You never want to give Dak any credit. You give Dak no credit.
There wasn't much for him to do, I think, to be honest. But he played a good game. He didn't throw the ball over. They ran the football pretty well. I mean, it was a game dominated by Dallas. I really thought Brady was going to win that game, but Brady didn't look good at all. I mean, the Dallas D line is solid. We know Parsons is a beast. I think the only reason why this could be a good matchup for the Cowboys is because Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant after all. Like, this guy is still the last overall pick in the draft. Like, we have to realize that. Like, he's playing at a good level, pretty elite level right now. But it's the playoffs, and he had some jitters in that first half against Seattle, and Seattle let him off the hook because they didn't come out well in the second half. But if the Dallas defense is going to get you and pressure him, then we could see the Brock Purdy that everyone was expecting to see at the start of the year. So that's my only concern with the Niners. But you look at the Niners on both sides of the football; they're the most complete team in the National Football League. It's really not close, and you have all those playmakers with Debo, CMC, Kittle, Ayuk. I mean, it's endless. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think I would definitely give Dallas a decent shot, though. If their pass rush gets home, I think they can win the game. And Prescott has to have a repeat of last week.
Absolutely. The one game that I watched the 49ers this year that I will say they looked bad was when they played the Chiefs. And that only reason they looked bad that game was because the Chiefs were able to just like shove it to them on offense. Like they were able to go deep on them. And honestly, I look at the receivers the Chiefs have. I don't think they're better than CeeDee Lamb. The way CeeDee Lamb is playing right now, like he can honestly get past anybody. You want to talk about one of the most underrated receivers, I think, in the NFL? I really think CeeDee's significantly underrated. And like I thought he would take a step back without Amari Cooper. That has not happened at all. He's in making these all insane catches. Every week I feel like I see this guy. I'm just amazed by his talent. Like actually an underrated receiver for sure. And also they got a really nice tight end too. Dalton Schultz. He really does not get the credit.
He was great on Monday
Yeah,
night.
I was gonna say, like, they have a very good offense, and I think they can. We've seen them crush teams, right? Like we saw what they did to a horrible team like the Vikings. When you're that loaded on both sides of the ball, like it's something's got to give. Like this is gonna be a good game. I really like the Cowboys though. I really, really do.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, I would be shocked if they won the game at all.
No, I wouldn't. All right, Tom, let's hear about the Giants talk now because I want to get in Mr. Stank. When we do get a chance, obviously he's clogging up the phone lines behind you. But what do you want to say about this game? Because we've been talking about it for the whole show, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, I know. I know Mr. Cody doesn't really want to give Daniel Jones his due diligence.
Absolutely not. That is correct.
Which I'm still a little shocked about because he had the best QB performance by any quarterback in Wild Card Weekend. That's beside the point. I think he's ready to go for this game. I mean, this whole Giants team that the whole week of practice got pretty loose. They're ready to go.
Yeah, I saw Daniel Jones gritty. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if they're specific gritty, I think they have to feel pretty good. I couldn't really see it because the whole team was huddled up around it, so I can't rate the gritty. But
Just gonna say, you're talking to the gritty king yourself.
he'd be playing pretty free and easy going to Philadelphia because that's one of the best rosters in the league. And I don't know, I'm obviously nervous, but I mean the Giants. I hate to say it, but like they're playing with house money. Like if we're being honest, like this. Obviously you want to win the football game. It's a huge game. You never want to lose the Eagles, but all the pressure here is on Philly to win the football game. I mean, if Philly doesn't win this game, I mean it's a 14-win season down the drain. It's a Hurts almost MVP season down the drain. They just traded for AJ Brown. They traded for Robert Quinn. They traded for CJ Gardner-Johnson. They did this. They had a whole off season. Howie Roseman got to work. So I mean, that's my opinion on it. But I really want to see the Giants obviously win this football game. I mean, this would be a huge step in the right direction in a rebuild year to get to the NFC Championship would be pretty incredible. It's almost like what the Bengals did last year, but even more impressive.
No, that's true. I definitely gives me Bengals vibes for sure. It's actually insane because Mr. Bossie has a lot of the same thoughts about the Giants run here that you were saying, and he was saying them before. The term house money, though, I couldn't agree more.
Well, I was just gonna say, Tom, I think you literally said pretty much everything that I said to Tyler and Kevin, who were on the show. But before you, I literally said maybe every single thing that you just said. So I'm not going to repeat myself. I completely agree with you about the house money point and the Eagles maybe wasting the season if they lose. And I think you're 100% right about both those points. But I don't know if you want my input on the actual game with the X's and O's. I think the key for the Giants is they got to use Saquon. I mean, they're definitely going to use him. The question is he going to get the yards? Because I feel like last week he didn't get many yards, but you know what? He found the end zone twice, and points are what matter in this sport. So he obviously points to score. So I would assume that he's going to get some touches, and I feel like he'll get more yards because I think he only had 53 on the ground, which is
had 9 carries though.
right. And he had a few receptions, so that obviously makes up for a little bit of it. But I feel like he's going to do more just away from the end zones. I feel like he can get in the end zone, but I feel like middle of the field he can be more effective. And then you're looking at the Eagles, and I said this before you came on, and I'm not sure if you heard it, but I feel like you got to attack using AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. And I didn't really talk about Dallas Goedert too, but I feel like Dallas Goedert could be another guy who could use over the middle because Brown and Smith will probably get a lot of attention, and so will Goedert. But I feel like Goedert kind of gets lost sometimes in the offense just because you focus so much on the wide receivers. So I feel like he can be a guy that you can go to over the middle, especially on third down. He's a big target. So if you're the Eagles, I would attack there. So yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. If you're the Eagles, you got to stop Saquon. If you're the Giants, you got to use them. But I also like Hodgins and Richie James. They've other guys who are lesser known, and they can really make plays.
Yeah, the Giants certainly have some all-star receivers, not to mention Kenny Golladay, another nice one as well.
Yeah, real quick before you guys let me go. Like you just said, yeah, they gotta use Saquon. I mean, I thought they were gonna feed Saquon last game, but I mean, Kafka has a tendency where he just gets ass happy, and it's worked. I'm not gonna say it hasn't worked because they've won games because of it, but I just don't like going away from Saquon so early in the game. Like there was a lot of red zone opportunities where Saquon didn't get carries last week. Like granted, the Vikings have one of the worst pass defense in the league, so you let Jones get off 40+ times, that's fine. But this Philly defense is much better.
No, this ain't Minnesota, bro. This ain't Minnesota. Like, there's not going to be a Daniel Jones MVP this week. Like, that's not happening.
He's not going to throw all over Slay and Bradbury like that. But they do have a middle of the pack run D, so that's why I think you have to keep Barkley. Barkley has to get 20, 25+ carries in my opinion, and Jones has to be able to run the football well as well.
I agree. The Giants offense is going to have to do all of those things if they want a chance because they're certainly underdogs. There's no doubt about that. But they're playing with, a great spirit and
good old house money.
They're playing with house money. You said it yourself, Tom, and there's nothing better than that, especially for a young team that's been doubted the whole season. All right, Tom. That's going to do it, I guess, for you today. Anything else that you want to add about the Giants-Eagles game?
I'm pretty good. I'm hyped up. Good luck, Ozzy. I know there's gonna be a lot of chirping probably after the game between Eagles Giants fans. So I'll say like that.
Thanks. I'll send the condolences your way too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great banter. Yeah, it'll be fun to
Yeah,
watch.
it will definitely not get out of hand. I'm sure people will be definitely civil about a football game. We know how people are about everything about here. All right, Tom. Thank you for always
Thanks
just
a lot,
coming on.
Tom.
We still have one more caller. We're running a little longer today, but he'll be on here. in
Yeah,
just a
I
second.
was actually gonna squeak in some point that I was trying to make
Oh,
earlier about
absolutely.
the Cowboys Niners game while we can buy some time for Eddie Stank to join. I was looking at the Niners schedule, and Dan Orlovsky brought this up on First Take this week. To be honest, they haven't really played a good team since the Chiefs. And it's funny you brought up the Chiefs because the Chiefs offense slaughtered the Niners D, and that's really the last time that their D's been slaughtered. They had some struggles actually against the Raiders in Vegas, I think in week
Yeah.
17. That was kind of a surprise little blimp in the road there, but I feel like the Niners D's kind of coasted along, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to get tested with this Cowboys offense. And then on the flip side, I was going to bring up how I feel like if you're the Cowboys, the way to attack this D, I think it's got to be through the air. And it might sound weird to say that because you have Zeke and Pollard, and they're a pretty good duo, especially Pollard. I feel like he's come on and kind of stolen a little bit of the spotlight from Zeke in terms of
Absolutely.
just
No.
he just does more with the ball.
Pollard is the better running back.
And
Pollard.
I know that they use Zeke so much throughout the first few years of his career, and I just feel like he's burned down a little bit. I feel like you got to throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb and Gallup on the outside because I feel like the weakest part of the Niners D is their corners. And I'm not saying their corners are bad, but when you compare the secondary to the linebackers and the D line, I feel like the secondary is where you got to attack. And can they do it? Oh, hell yeah.
Passing to the tight end as well. That's
And
gonna
you
be
brought up
really
Schultz,
important. They
yeah.
have to get the ball to Schultz. I completely agree with that, Jeff. All right, our caller is here. Eddie Stank, the lone Eagles fan caller today.
Welcome to the show.
Eddie Stank, how you doing, my man?
How we doing? I'm good. I'm the lone Eagles fan caller. That's ridiculous.
Well, can I be honest with you? We just had a Daniel Jones like parade for the last 35 minutes.
It's one of those.
Yeah, I mean it's been insane.
It's our turn.
I heard let Jones cook. I've heard Danny Dimes cooks. Like if I hear the name Danny Dimes one more time, like I'm probably just gonna lose it. So we'll just refer to him as Jones for now, because I
Refer to him as Mr. Jones for
Mi-
the sake of this phone call.
Mr. Jones. Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, so give us the Eagles fan perspective here, because I'm done hearing about the Giants perspective. Like I know it's a good cute story for the Giants. Daniel Jones is grittying all as well right now, but let's hear the real talk.
Yeah, first off, I'm stoked on this hearing the Giants. I understand they're well coached, they have a lot of talent, and they're like, hear the narrative. I agree with that. Second of all, yeah, I don't know. I would say I would fit in with like most other Eagles fans. I was in a sense like I don't think this is going to be an easy winner all the way. I think this is definitely going to be a close game. It's the third time we're seeing the Giants, and it's tough to beat the team 3 times. Like they're very familiar with us. I know the last game the Giants were playing the backups, but still playing the team 3 times. It's going to be a tough game, and I think the Eagles will win, but I'm pretty nervous.
Well, what are you most nervous about? Like, what are you nervous about when you think of the Giants? Like, what do you think that they are better than you at? Like, what's the one thing that they do that stands out? I mean, running the ball against your defense, I guess.
Yeah, that's really the only thing, but it's not even about like a talent perspective. Like I think we're better than the Giants in almost every position other than running back. You could probably argue defensive line, not really. The Eagles defensive line is still better, but like the Giants can just have something behind. They got Patrick.
Yeah, and I'll try to help you out, Eddie Stank. I feel like the reason why I'm trying to reword this. I'm nervous in the sense that it's not even the X's and O's. It's just the pressure. We have all the pressure in this game to win. We are expected to win. We're all favored. Everyone's picking us to win. There might be some people that are picking the Giants just because why not? House money. They're kind of riding high, whatever. I just feel like all the pressure's on us because 14-3, 1 seed, the bye, Hurts MVP candidate the whole year. Team's been really good for the majority of the year. I mean, the losses haven't been too concerning besides probably the Saints game, but we also had our backup QB for 2 games. So I don't know what you can say about that, but I don't know. It's feel like an almost perfect season. And I feel like you just don't want to waste it in the divisional playoffs, losing, especially to a divisional team at home. I just feel like it's the worst case scenario. I just feel like the pressure is the reason why that we're nervous, but I don't know if you agree with me.
Also, the Giants just go on miracle runs. Like, it's just the way that they operate. Like, think about their 2 Super Bowl wins.
Right. And I actually have a stat before I'll let you chime in, Eddie, in just 1 second, but I got this stat from somewhere and the Giants have won 6 straight games against number 1 seeds dating back to 1975. That's unbelievable.
I mean, that's a terrible.
Scares me a lot.
That is a. I was gonna say that is a terrible.
I mean, I'm not
stat.
sure if you two play into the history books at all, but I mean,
No,
we're
no,
going off
no.
of that.
Yeah, no, that is a horrible stat, Jeff. Like, actually, I'm not even gonna lie. That changes my complete thoughts about this game. Like, the Giants. Yeah, that. Oh,
Sorry, guys.
I actually
saw it.
I'm
I
just.
felt like I had
thinking,
to share it.
guys, Jones is gonna win a Super Bowl. And we're all gonna be sitting there and questioning our lives. Isaiah Hodgins is now wide receiver 1 in the NFL. Yeah, no, that's literally probably what's gonna end up happening, and I'm sure they'll beat like Mahomes or some all-time great quarterback. And oh my God, if Jones beats Mahomes in the Super Bowl, oh my God, can you imagine that? How would the rest of us even live with that? I actually don't even know. Yeah, I might have to do that too. Maybe like Arkansas or something. But all right. So Eddie, I also want to ask you about this game because Jeff was sitting on it before you were coming on, and we're talking about the Eagles Giants game, obviously, but the other team, big game in the NFC is the 49ers and Cowboys. And I was, tooting the Cowboy horn before, but honestly, Jeff, the way you said it is like the explosive offenses are the ones that seem to do the best against the 49ers, specifically with the Chiefs. I mean, you were mentioning that before. And honestly, like, I feel like the Cowboys kind of do have an explosive offense. They can make things happen. And I don't know. I think they have a chance versus the 49ers. I'm interested to hear what you think, Ed.
Yeah, I actually love the Cowboys this year. I think the Cowboys are gonna pull off the upset. Surprisingly, they're making their first conference championship since '95, whatever it was. But yeah, my main reasoning is Purdy really hasn't played any good teams. I just saw the list of teams he played. I don't know where it was, so I'm not gonna.
No, Bozzy actually just said it before you came on.
Purdy is not seen a good defense yet, really, for the most part. The Cowboys defense, they've shown flashes of being a very good defense at times. So other times, not really. But if the Cowboys defense can play well, I think they're definitely going to win the game.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I completely agree. If they shut down Purdy, I think it's definitely gonna be good.
So yeah, I completely agree, Eddie. It's funny that you said that because just before you came on, I was telling Jimmy that really the Chiefs are the last great team that they played. They did play the Chargers, so that's a playoff team, and they did play the Dolphins in Tampa Bay, but you don't really view those teams as great teams, I would say.
No,
but
Tampa Bay is not a great team.
No. But in terms of the defenses, and you bring up Brock Purdy facing defenses, I mean, he's faced Seattle twice. They don't have a great defense. Washington, Las Vegas, Arizona, just to name a few teams. But I think the advantage that Purdy has is that he doesn't really have to make crazy throws. I feel like a lot of the throws that he has to make are over the middle, just because Kittle's usually there. And then Deebo Samuel, you can basically give him the ball wherever because you can use him as a running back, and then you can throw it deep with him. And then you also have Ayuk, who can be used over the middle and kind of throw deep shots too. And then I didn't even bring up McCaffrey. McCaffrey is like a Swiss Army knife. You can give him the ball in the backfield. You can use him as a receiver. You can even use him pass if you want, because I think he had a passing touchdown earlier in the year just to play some fun with that. But he can really spray it everywhere. It's just, I don't know. You got Micah Parsons coming in, and he's going to be Brock Purdy hunting. So it's a tall task for that O-line.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tall task for them. And I definitely like that angle that Brock Purdy hasn't seen a great defense. I agree with both of you
It's
guys
just
on that.
tough because you don't want to really knock the schedule on him because he can't really control who he plays. But I don't know.
No, but it's just the area of possible, like,
It's just heightened pressure.
yeah, no, it's a new situation. It's something different than the norm. So that's why it's noticeable. Eddie, anything else that you want to add about the NFL playoffs before we wrap up here?
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend of games. Other than really the Chiefs Jaguars game, I think the Chiefs will definitely win. But
You don't, well, hold on. You don't think there's any chance the Jaguars win at all? Like, you think it's a foregone conclusion? Like, I could see the Jaguars putting up a lot of points.
I would like the Jaguars to be conviction, but I don't know. It would be tough for them to win. The Chiefs beat them pretty handily, right?
That's true. That's true. But that was also the regular season. This is the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's also a Saturday. Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday.
It's like 2017 all over again.
It would be like last year, like with the Bengals. It would just be that insane miracle run out of nowhere.
Right.
Oh, I agree, because there's no Jamar Chase on the Jags. Right?
Well, also the Jags D this year is way worse than the Jags D from 2017. But even you go back to the first meeting when they played, just to make this quick, they were down 10, I feel like, the whole game, and they just couldn't score. And the defense was actually holding up its end of the job.
It
So
was. Yes, you're right.
I don't know if you're in that kind of situation again, maybe they're even tied or if they're winning. I don't know. If you give Trevor Lawrence some chances to score and he actually cashes in on maybe half of them, who knows?
I like the Jags. I think 9 points is a lot.
Because you think he's not going to throw 4 picks again, but who knows? So
Yeah, no, that's the Sunday night Cody one. But anyway, I think that's gonna do it for our show here today.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, no, Eddie, thank you as always for coming on.
Hopefully
you
we'll
wanna
have
give
you
us
on
a score
soon,
prediction really quickly too, because everybody else gave a score prediction.
okay.
Literally around the same
I was
range.
gonna
as
say there's been
everybody.
very similar scores.
It's gonna be like the same kind of close, tough game.
And then just to remind them, we heard a 23-17 Giants, we heard a 27-24 Giants, a 27-24 Eagles.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of
Not sure if
Giants
Spallone
support.
gave a pick. I don't remember.
30-17 Giants.
No, he actually had 42-0 Giants. Jones, 6 passing touchdowns, 500 yards. Actually, he was also given the Heisman Trophy at halftime. Yeah, and also they had a Nickelodeon ceremony on the field. They slimed Jones, and he did a great at midfield. All right, Eddie, thank you for coming on.
Hopefully we'll have you on again soon. Hopefully the Eagles will still be playing
Yeah,
next
obviously
week.
The Eagles are here next week.
But you know what? Whatever happens.
We'd
happens.
love to have you back on again. All right, that'll do it today for After the Whistle. Jeffrey, I don't know about you, but I'm excited this weekend for some football.
Oh, it's going to be great. There's 4 great games. Make sure to tune into those. And then we're going to recap them on Monday. And then we'll have our conference championship matchups. So be sure to tune into that on Monday. But thank you for listening. And we will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Monday at what time?
3 p.m.
Monday at 3.